All right, today is Monday. That means it's Military Monday. I've got another story for y'all. I've got stories that will last a little bit. If you guys want me to not just talk about like war stories, or I don't want to call them war stories. It's kind of the stories from like Afghanistan or Iraq. Maybe next week we can do a different one if you guys want to know something else. I don't know. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you guys want me to continue on to the series and then come back to it maybe the week after that. But this video is going to lead off from last week's video. If you haven't seen any of those videos, I'll link it down below. You might want to go watch them before watching this one if you're new to the channel. So this is going to start off with, when I got a big old whiteboard. I've got some photos. So we're going to start off from where we were last week. We were, I remember I woke up from sleeping probably about an hour or two that night in that cot. It was summer, so it was really, really hot, but I was like, I don't like the thought of like a camel spider getting inside my sleeping bag, so all I did was just zip that sucker all the way shut. And I remember I woke up so hot the next morning because all I had was, I was like, oh, we're gonna be going and it's gonna start getting cooler, so I just brought my my little bivy sack and my thick sleeping bag. I was smart. But anyway, I woke up the next morning. I remember thinking to myself, like, holy crap, looking around. Like, here's a photo. I'll show you guys a photo. Now, this is maybe like a couple days later. Like, that tower you see over there, that's not really the important tower. That's just another one. But you see, like, there's a lot of sand and there's those vehicles. It's kind of in the center. Now, that is before everything. That's before we had to build our own mortar pits. We had to build our ammo area. We had to build our latrine area. Like, where we slept, where we ate, where we took dumps. Like, everything had to be built. And I remember looking around just thinking, we got a lot of work ahead of us. Not even really like fully comprehending the amount of work that we had because I've never done this before. This is my first time like embedding in rebuilding and building in a camp ourselves. Usually they have engineers come out and do this, but we're like working in such a small group that we just did it ourselves. So now the whole thing is when you're on this camp and you're having to build stuff, since we don't have any engineers out there doing it for us like we normally would, that means we're having to pull guard at the same time as we're building. Now, the Taliban continue to probe us like once or twice a day. What I mean by probing, I don't mean like any weird sexual way, but I mean like actually trying to get in and attack us to try to see how we would react. I just remember that because it was like a daily occurrence for a couple weeks. Them trying to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to react to it. And the bad thing is when you're trying to build this stuff, random stuff will just happen and then you'll be stuck doing that for like 30 minutes to an hour. And then you'll have to get off the gun and go straight back to building something. Like, it was a never-ending work cycle for about 4 months. We're building a camp for somebody else to come in and replace us and then continue the mission. Like, it's a lot of work. Like, when you're over there, if you're not just sitting on some giant fob, you're probably working your ass off. Now on this camp we had no power whatsoever when we first got there, of course. In all the trucks, like those trucks you saw earlier, those are the ones that were actually powering our communications, charging batteries, everything like that. We were on a very, very limited supply of water. There was no showering because there was no showers. There's no showering. There's no like anything like what these guys would do to take showers. And I didn't do it because I didn't want to get sick. And I honest to God didn't really feel like pouring bleach on myself. They would take jugs of water. We'd go out. They would go get jugs. Like after about 2 weeks, they'd get like 5-gallon jugs of water, and they just pour a little bit of bleach in it, and then let it sit out in the sun. And they would just rinse themselves off that way. And I wasn't really a big fan of pouring bleach on myself, so I just kind of like, whatever. Didn't shower for quite a long time. But I just got off track again. So what we had to build. Now, when you come to this area, we had to build sleeping, somewhere to sleep. We had to build towers, you had to build mortar pit, you had to build, we didn't build a bunker until something happened, which you guys will figure out later on in this series, why we started building a bunker after a certain day. That bunker wasn't on our list. That was on the bottom because if we're in this little small area and we get hit by a mortar round that close, everybody's probably going to die anyway, so a bunker's really not going to save you. And then we had to build somewhere for the ammo. As you guys can probably tell, you can't just sit ammo out on the dirt. It's just not going to... You have to dig a massive hole for it. Like, that's what's got to happen, because if something hits that ammo, you're screwed and it all goes off, and yeah. Oh, and we had to build somewhere to take a poop because I was tired of pooping and peeing on the outside of the wall because I wanted to pee in a hole or a tube, just like everybody else. So we were very, very, very limited on water, and it was very hot. For the first month, maybe month and a half, it was very hot. It was still the summertime in Afghanistan, so it was warm. And all the water we had was only used for hygiene, drinking or brushing teeth. Other than that, that was it. You know, we weren't cooking any food. There was no stove. There was no nothing. It was just eat the food and MRE. And I think there were first strikes. We'd eat a couple. We'd limit ourselves to one first strike a day, and the rest would MREs. The first strike was so much better, so much healthier. Now, I just remember waking up the next day, like I was saying, I'm going to go back to that. And we're working. I remember the morning to the mid-afternoon, we got attacked. Which wasn't like that big of an attack. I'll draw it on this whiteboard so you guys can have somewhat of an idea on where we're standing and where they always initiated contact from. Let's move over to this. All right, so I'm gonna make the outline of the camp with this. So basically, it was a square. That's literally all this thing was. The entrance was over here, right at the beginning. This is the entrance, right there. All right, that's where we're coming at. And all these corners right here. Just as you can tell, anybody would figure this out. This is where you'd stick towers. And this is where we slept, was right here. Not that big of a deal. That's where you slept. And you wanted to hug this wall. The whole reason behind we hung this wall is everything would come from over here. Like we had a wood line right here, a bunch of buildings out over here. So anything that was going to happen, the rounds would come in like this. Okay? So that makes a little bit more sense. Now if we put the sleeping areas and everything else over on this side, the potential to get hit by rounds. For the most part, because there was down on this side, down like back over on this side of there was a big old village, and the Taliban's not going to shoot rounds into the village because then that makes they're going to make bad relations with the villagers. So they just pinpoint right on this one area. So the first attack, they always came from that wood line. Like if you're just looking at it like a square, this top right hand side was where it would come from, and that was where the village was. Like you see why we put everything here to hit the wall. That was the whole idea behind it. It was a pretty good idea. I don't know if we did that on purpose. Maybe they did do it on purpose. I don't know, because I wasn't a part of the layout planning. Only thing I remember having like any really big deal was this planning, like so when you get in a tick, and when you're on a little area like that, the towers are going to run out of ammo. And that did happen one of the times. Like I've got some pretty good stories that are leading up, that this is all leading up to, like where we actually do start running out of ammo and people are running back and forth with ammo, like to the towers from the ammo pit. That's later on. But I mean, this was a small attack in the morning, and we're trying to build stuff like this right here. Like we're building like just a platform to put a tent on so we have somewhere to sleep. And sleeping conditions after we even got the tent up was like this. Even after the tent was up, we're still sleeping nut to butt. We had 15 to 18 guys sleeping in this one area that's supposed to fit about 10 people. So it's like everybody's sleeping on top of each other. All you did in there was sleep. You didn't do anything else. There was no AC in this building or tent. There was literally nothing. It was just stale, stagnant, sandy air. Just, you didn't go in there unless you had to sleep. So after the first tick of that day, remember this is only day 2. After the first one was there, it was kind of a mediocre one. There wasn't anything crazy. It was just like AKs and maybe a couple like RPKs or PKMs, like some sort of machine gun. Nothing like actually that big of a deal. It was just, I don't think we hurt anybody, and they definitely didn't hurt any of us. It was just basically like a slap boxing fight is all that I count that as, just them being, whatever. But around the evening time, you can almost count, if you're in Afghanistan and you're in a very hostile area, you can guarantee, I bet you a lot of my veterans that have been over in Afghanistan know the time around between 4 and 6 is when you're most likely probably going to get your ass attacked, is around then. I remember we're all just kind of like sitting there. We probably have 2 times the amount of guys in the tower just basically waiting, just kind of hanging out. Some were sitting down, some were smoking, some were just messing around. I remember I was sitting down there with a couple of some of the Afghan guys we were working with, are trying to communicate with them as much as best we could. And all of a sudden, all I hear was two RPGs went off. It was almost, they were trying to do simultaneously, but all you hear is shoo, shoo, and you hear them, and then you just hear the tower yell RPGs, and everybody kind of like freezes for a second, and then tries to figure out where it's coming from. Then they figure out where it's coming from, and then I hear a shoo. And that's when I was like, holy what are they shooting at us? And then that's when we figured out it was a Dishka. They had everything, all the attacks that they had done were starting to get escalated. So now, earlier in the day and earlier yesterday, they were just doing RPKs and PKMs and light machine guns, like just pea shooters, compared to RPGs and Dishkas. And like, it was a really coordinated attack. Like, you had woodline, houses on this side. It came from all angles, but that Dishka, I'll never forget the Dishka, because when you hear a Dishka round go flying over you, a Dishka is like an anti-air gun. Like, it shoots lead like this big. And the only reason why I know the lead size is because we found Dishka round lead in the camp like days and days and days later, like had been lobbed up into the camp. Like those guys are pretty good at what they do. I'll give them credit. They've been fighting a long time. They know what they're doing. Oh, I remember, because so we had got the tent up. So the tent had all of our stuff in it. I remember it was directly in front of me, and I went book into that tent. I went and grabbed I had one of my sniper rifles in there. I had 2 with me at this camp, or 3 with me at this camp. No, I had 2 with me at this camp. I ran in there, grabbed it, and then I booked so quick. I just took off running. At this point, I'm kind of a shorter guy, all right? And this was the day when we figured out that my little short ass, because I'm only 5'10", like I'm not that tall. And if you tell, like, we figured out later that we had to stick sandbags on top of the wood that was on the HESCO, so we can get little short guys like me up with the gun up over the wall. I can get the gun up over the wall and be looking, but the problem was I'm trying to look through my scope, and if you don't look through your scope correctly, you'll get that little black ring on around it. That's what kept happening. So my dumb ass, I started ripping sandbags off the wall so I can shoot. And I just remember looking through that scope, and all I could see when I got up to the tower was this white truck with a Dishka on the back of it. Like, well, you know, to be honest with you, all I could really see was a white truck, and it looked like a black little like silhouette because it was kind of far away. But then every time that Dishka would shoot, it was like you knew it was a Dishka. I'll tell you what, because they take that thing through like a wadi, and they would come up and they would shoot and then they'd back it up into the wadi, and you knew when it was a Dishka coming at you, because that thing will make that's a scary gun. That is a very scary gun. Yeah. Oh, you guys like to know that there's a picture of me. You guys, I think I showed this in the last episode, but that's the rifle I went and grabbed. That's an M110. I always had the can on, the suppressor, because, I mean, my hearing was always shot to shit anyway. Like, when you go up to these towers in these areas, like, you have, like, 5, 10, 15 guys online. Like, half of them don't have helmets on, half don't have body armor on, because it's so quick, and you got to gain fire superiority, so you're just up there trying to just get rounds down. And then once, like, okay, so we do wear body armor stuff up there, but I'm saying, like, when you go up, everybody that's up there usually doesn't have body armor on or anything, so they initiate the contact, then you kind of, like, do a rotate. I'm not saying that we didn't always wear body armor, but sometimes, you know, you got firefights with flip-flops on. That firefight probably lasted about 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, and this is when, like, when I was up at the other camp, we didn't really have to worry about running out of ammo. We never had that issue. But on this one, we brought down the ammo, and after this, it became apparent that we had to be very, very smart on the way that we shot the ammo, because after this firefight, we just went balls to the wall. Everybody was going, like, damn near black on ammo, just to prove a point that we weren't there to mess around. Like, they're trying to, like, you know, when you get bullied a little bit and somebody's trying to bully you, try to come back a little harder. That's basically what we did every single time. And we weren't just shooting guns. We were shooting, like, grenade launchers, like, everything we had at them every single time. One of the guys we were working with, he went and grabbed, we had a Dishka of our own that wasn't set up yet, and I'll save this video for next week, but that Dishka, it wasn't set up yet. It had, not we, but the team before them had went in and done a raid and killed a whole bunch of dudes, like a whole bunch of Taliban guys, and then took Dishkas, like, just took a whole bunch of weapons from RPGs, Dishkas, like all the good stuff. And we kept the Dishka, and now, after that day they used the Dishka on us, okay, so we set that Dishka up in that tower. It's kind of funny to shoot at Taliban with a gun that you stole from them. That was awesome. So yeah, that was day number 2 at this place. We still have nowhere to poop, nowhere to pee, nowhere to really sleep. It's in the pictures I showed of the living conditions. That was like weeks after. Like you'll see. I might have some pictures, like I said, but I'll have to go sifting through them. But the raid you just saw right there, we're still at the point where moon dust, a couple towers, and sandbags and ammo. That's all we care about at this point. So yeah, that's the end of day number 2 at this place. And I spent about 3 or 4 months there. Not every day's like this. It was really only like super, like they only hit us hot and heavy for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks at that location. And then they started realizing that we're not going anywhere, then we went after them. It was kind of like they were on the offensive and we were kind of on the defensive as we built up our area and fortified it. And then once we built it up, and then it just turned all the way around. We went on the offensive. And if you guys like these videos, please hit the thumbs up for me. I will be either doing another one of these leading up into next week's video, or I can stop and do something else. Like if you guys want to know about basic training or some other random school The only school I will not ever indulge or tell you guys about is how to pass selection. That'll never be something I'll ever talk about because I don't want to ruin that, like, that aspect of anything, because like going to that is something that you don't want to ruin that. You want somebody to go in there with an open mind, not really knowing what to expect. So I don't want to mess that up. So that will never be spoke of. That is something that I'll never ever tell somebody what they need to do to pass. You just need to do it because that's what men do, is go in there and pass something on their own. Another thing I'll never talk about is sniper school. That is something that I just don't feel like it's appropriate to talk about. I'll talk about shooting somebody, or I'll talk about something else like that, because that was a job, but I won't indulge or give away like that kind of information, because it's just not a lot of people have to go and do it, and I think it's very cherished, the stuff that's learned and taught there. But like stupid stuff, like the dumb schools that everybody goes to, like airborne school or air assault school or anything like that, like that's a school I'm open to talk about, because that is so easy. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If you guys are thinking about going and joining the Army, get an airborne contract for sure. Don't be a wuss. Go jump out of planes. There's no reason not to. Yeah, why not? Go jump out of planes. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Hit that thumbs up for me if you guys enjoyed this video. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow morning with another video, and next Monday with another Military Monday. See y'all.